Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States, and rather than being its own state, it's instead designated as an unincorporated organized territory. So why was Puerto Rico given this weird status instead of becoming a state? And why is it even a part of the United States in the first place? Well, in 1493, Christopher Columbus would discover Puerto Rico on his second voyage and claim it for the Spanish Empire. Due to its position and riches, Puerto Rico became an important military outpost for Spain. But this wealth also caused European powers to try and take it over. Spain held on though, and the island stayed in Spanish hands. As time went on, Puerto Rico would gain more and more autonomy, but that wouldn't matter because of what would happen on February 15th, 1898. An American ship called the USS Maine was docked in Spanish Cuba when it suddenly exploded. It was most likely an accident, but back then, Americans thought that it was a deliberate bombing by Spain. This, among other things, was the trigger for the Spanish-American War, and so just a few months after the war had started, Puerto Rico was invaded and then occupied until the end of the war. This war would end in an American victory, and so Spain had to give up the Philippines, Guam, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. With Puerto Rico now under the control of the United States, they would introduce the Four-Acre Act, which instituted a civil government and designated Puerto Rico as an unincorporated organized territory. This means that only parts of the US Constitution apply to it, that they have self-governance, and that Puerto Ricans can't vote. Later in 1917, Puerto Ricans would gain American citizenship, and in 1952 would create its own constitution and become a commonwealth. So this is how Puerto Rico got its modern-day status. But why wasn't it made a state? Well, due to the native Taino and African slaves brought over by the Spanish, non-white Puerto Ricans were still a sizable minority of the population in the early 1900s. This made some American legislators afraid that if Puerto Rico was given statehood, racial mixing would occur on the US mainland. This is part of the reason why Puerto Ricans originally had limited autonomy and didn't have US citizenship. The US also wanted to protect the business interests of white American farmers. It was also thought that if Puerto Rico was admitted as a state, the Philippines would have to be as well. The legislators didn't want this though because it had a large non-white population and it was over 8,000 miles away from the US mainland. Although this was the past, so it could become a state soon. The thing that might be stopping Puerto Rico from achieving this though might be the Puerto Ricans themselves. You see, the majority of Puerto Ricans want statehood, but it's only by a slim majority. So whether or not Puerto Rico becomes a state, stays a territory, or gains their independence, the future status of Puerto Rico is still unknown. But what might be even more bizarre is why Hawaii is a part of the United States. And so to find out why, click here. Thanks for watching.